All right, everybody. Hi, I'm Keenan Womack. This is Keep Austin Beard. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm here with my man, Ari Temkin, who is in Kansas City, Missouri for the Big 12 Media Days season tip-off. How are you doing, Ari?
Well, great, Keenan. Yeah, it was. They're literally tearing it down as we speak, so you can probably hear the noise in the background as we're playing musical chairs here. They're trying to get the T-Mobile Center ready for I don't know what, but not Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah,
I think the time is up. That they rented T-Mobile Center. Time is up now.
Yeah. So I watched along on ESPNU today, and I came across a few thoughts that I had. One of the thoughts I had was a lot of people brought up conference realignment and the effects that that's going to have. What was the general sense that you sort of got from them, from the coaches, about conference realignment? Were they kind of interested by it? Were they trying to dismiss it? Are they bitter towards Texas and OU? Like, what was sort of the general feeling that you got from them on that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think most coaches outside of Texas, Oklahoma, and then Bob Bowlsby, there really wasn't much there in terms of, it's now the news has been out there for quite some time, so it's had time to kind of take. And, and then a lot of these coaches just sort of say, hey, we're excited about what this conference will look like from a basketball perspective moving forward. I think that's, Keenan, your focal point is basketball. I mean, you had Cincinnati and BYU and Houston, the Final Four team. It's just going to be a good basketball conference. It's already been, and it will continue to be. And so, I think, the players, obviously, they don't care. They're not going to be here. It's not going to affect them. Right. Coaches, maybe care a little bit more, but I think they still remain optimistic about the health of the league. And then it's clear there's still, hurt feelings. Brian Davis for the Austin Bucket Statesman had some quotes from Bob Bowlsby. We had Bob Bowlsby on Big 12 radio, and there's some hurt feelings there for sure. What I will say is, so they have this really weird photo of Chris Beard up when he was speaking, so they have like the two screens to the side as they're speaking. And it was like, so he didn't have a beard. It was the first thing I noticed. He was like, probably like 10, 15 years ago. And so I actually was talking to him about that because I was like, how long have you had your beard now? Because I can't remember what you look like without a beard. And I saw the picture of it, and he's like, yeah, I was hoping that wasn't shade that they were throwing at me for Texas and OU leaving, but it might have been because that's like a 15-year-old picture of me.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's sometimes you got to be a little petty, I guess.
And I don't know if that's the way it was, but I was like, I was thinking the same thing, coach. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, obviously that's going to be on everybody's mind for multiple reasons, but yeah, I wanted to see if there was some sort of tension. I guess there definitely was with the commissioner of the Big 12, but we've sort of known that was going to be an issue with him from the very inception of this entire thing happening. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions about Beard. So I watched along as well. I thought a good question that came along was about the hostility from other environments. He said Texas is a big game on everyone's schedule. It comes with a lot of responsibility. We've already begun talking to our players about this. There will be adversity on the road. I think really what they were asking, though, is mostly about the Tech game on February 1st, because I think that's going to be one of the most wild, downright intimidating environments that they're going to enter this season, if not the most. So what do you think Beard sort of thinks about that? I mean, he gave an interesting answer. What's your sort of interpretation of that?
Yeah, and we asked him, point blank, what's that game going to be like? What are the emotions involved? And look, he didn't shy away from it. He said it's going to be very emotional. He's like, what's funny is I still have a bunch of friends from there at Tech. He said a buddy who's just passing through, and we hung out for a little bit. He's like, I can't give his name because he's supposed to hate me, and so everybody's supposed to hate me there. And I thought one of the more important things he said to that was, hey, look, I was an assistant at Texas Tech under Bobby Knight and then Pat Knight for a decade. I didn't leave. I had opportunity to leave. I never left. Right? I think a lot of Tech fans don't want to realize that. You also, part of the reason you're upset that he's gone is because he was so good. So, it's hurt feelings over, we loved this guy because he was such a good coach, but he put this Texas Tech's program in position to be a really good team, and they're going to be good. They're going to continue to be good. I think Tech's one of the more underrated teams in the conference this year. And so, Mark Adams, their new head coach, assisted under Chris Beard for a long time. So there's, a lot of things that he's going to have there from Chris Beard's perspective. So, look, you hope it doesn't get ugly. Chris is as competitive as the guys you'll find. So he's going to obviously want to win that game. He wants to win every game. But yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. And look, I asked him, when did you know you wanted to go to Texas? Like, when did you figure that out? Because it happened so fast. And, he basically said, that obviously it's home. But he always is up for a new challenge. And like, the expectations, winning at a high level, like those are things he's embracing. I don't think his predecessor embraced that stuff. I don't know that any basketball coach at Texas, quite frankly, maybe other than Tom Penders, has embraced that pressure. Because, you think about pressure at Kansas because Kansas wins titles and they have the history there. There's pressure at Texas because of the resources, not any history. But he embraces that, and he doesn't shy away from that. And that's, like, I believe that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times coaches will say that, but, man, this guy has been in an incredible rise through the ranks. And, I'll say this. I continue to say this. Texas will win a national championship under Chris Beard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it'll be his first year, but I think they're definitely squarely in contention to do so. I mean, it's going to start with winning that conference, which was another thing that was talked about a lot today, is how elite the conference is. Bill Self said that. Bruce Weber said that. I saw a lot of different coaches mention how competitive it's going to be. So sort of from your perspective, having talked to a lot of these guys and been around other writers, are people giving Texas the respect that a lot of the Texas writers think that they deserve, or do you think people are underrating Texas or properly rating Texas?
That's a great question, Keenan. So you have 3 legitimate top 10 teams here in this conference to start the year, and these are 3 teams that I think will be top 10 teams all year. They're going to go through adversity and whatnot, but these aren't surprising teams here. Like, these are teams that's loaded with talent, really good coach, really good coaching. So I mean, yeah, I'd say any combination of Texas, Kansas, and Baylor for sure. I mean, Baylor's the defending national champions. They obviously lose 4 of their top 5 guys, but just like Texas and Kansas, they've got some heavy hitters in the transfer portal coming through.
Yeah, Kinjo's really good. Kendall Brown's coming in from his freshman year. Yeah, and just to jump
Timmy
back,
Allen and Akinjo. I mean,
yeah,
Pac-12 performers last year. They're not playing.
Yeah, and Remy Martin too. I mean, like
exactly.
So many talented transfers ended up in the Big 12 this year. To jump back to Tech for a second though, because I had a question about them. So Mark Adams is generally considered the guy who created the no middle defense and has been, as he said, been copycatted, not in like a snarky way, but like, he said he respects the fact that other people are running his defense. And he said that it was unfortunate that Baylor actually ran it better than we did. So do you think that defense is going to stick around? I mean, it seems like Texas is probably going to run it this year until somebody figures out how to break it. But, what are your thoughts sort of on that?
No, yeah. So same thing. Talked to Mark Adams about that. I asked where it came from, the genesis of it, and do you see a lot of teams running it? And he's like, yeah, I turn the TV and see I see Baylor winning the national championship running it. And he's like, they ran it better than us. And I'm like, well, coach, I mean, you guys played for a national championship. You went to overtime, like, so you got pretty far also with that defense. And yeah, I mean, it's you think about the conference from a football perspective, the 3-3-5. We see that now across college football. John Haycock, the defensive coordinator of Iowa State, kind of brought that to Big 12 as a way to to neutralize some of these explosive offense.
Calm down the spread.
Yeah, and so that was what he said. Basically, the genesis of the no middle, the side defense, as he calls it. That that they wanted to limit the way that some of these attacking guards of the Big 12 would be able to attack. And obviously, it makes a ton of sense. You want to funnel everything to the middle, and you want to use baseline to your advantage as an extra defender. And yeah, I mean, I think I've talked to Bob Huggins over the years about Press Virginia, and what Press Virginia he thinks specifically is a Deshaun Butler thing. Like we don't have the players like we had to run it. But even then, it's like you've got to have the right players to press and play that kind of a style.
Right.
You have to have the right players. You have to have rim protection. And so I do wonder, does Texas have the rim protection in order to make it happen? I think Tech does. I think Texas has some really good individual defenders, but it would be helpful to have Jericho Sims or some of these guys over the last couple of years have just been elite athletes, at the 5 or the 4 that can be rim protectors. You'll have to tell me, Keenan, if you think they have one on the roster right now.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could have like a Musa Cisse type guy, just like an anchor in the middle, somebody who can, be a big physical defender. And that is really what I see as the one big flaw of this team right now is a singular gigantic rim protector. Because, their tallest guys are 6'9", which is big, but, in a league full of big guys, like the thing that Texas has is a bunch of very skilled guys who can score in a lot of different ways, and then defensively they have length on the wings and they can defend multiple positions, out on the perimeter. But it's really going to come down to who's going to defend the paint, who's going to block shots, who's going to make lives more difficult when people are attacking the rim.
Yeah, no question. And so to answer your question, yeah, they're going to run it. But I also think they're going to run a lot of different things because I don't know that they have necessarily, again, you need a big to protect the rim to funnel players inside, right? So, the other thing that we spent a lot of time talking with Chris Beard about, I'm a KU grad, I'm a KU basketball fan, like Jaron Howard is a huge loss for Kansas basketball. That Chris Beard was able to put together a staff that is really, really impressive, both in helping recruit, but also in schematically. And we've seen Kansas over the years run some creative defenses. So I don't think it's what we'll see exclusively. I think when Chris Beard has the right pieces, I think we will see the highest end of that elite defense. But I don't know that we'll see it. I just don't know it'll be exclusive.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking is it might come down to Disu, sorry. Ended up him. Did you get to ask a question about him and how he's progressing?
No, I did not, unfortunately.
No worries. Yeah, because he's still non-contact in practice, so we'll have to see how that develops. I mean, I've heard he could be ready for Gonzaga. I've heard he might not be. So that would be a really important piece to that game because Gonzaga is huge inside and they score a ton of points in the paint. So I think that'll be a very interesting development and something to follow as the season progresses. So
I agree.
I think that's pretty important. I only got one more question for you, man. So do you think, according to a bunch of coaches, I already sort of said it, but do you think this is the best conference in basketball this year? I'm partial to the Big Ten possibly because they have 3 top 10 teams as well. They got another couple guys floating around in the teens. So I'm not sure. It could be either one to me.
Yeah. I have a pretty good sense of the Big 12. I don't yet have a good enough sense of the rest of the country. I'm knee deep in Dallas Cowboys football and Big 12 football. But what I will say is this, no program in college basketball in Power 5 has won more games and a larger percentage of their games over the last 2 years than Baylor. Baylor has won 90% of their games the last 2 years, and they're tied with Virginia for the highest winning percentage over the last 3 years. Kansas is Kansas,
Right.
Chris Beard developed a power at Texas Tech. At Tech, imagine what he's going to do in Austin, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at Baylor being the winning program they've been, even though they lost a bunch of guys, they've got tons of talent.
Reloaded.
Kansas, this is going to be as good of a Kansas team as we've seen.
Yep.
Last couple of years, they weren't as good last year. They should have won a national championship a couple of years ago when the season was canceled. So, yeah, I mean, I think Tech and West Virginia can be some surprises. I'm not too optimistic about Kansas State and Iowa State. So, I'd say in terms of top heavy, this conference has, I would say, 3 teams that could potentially win a national championship to start this year.
I agree with you. And then I think there's 3 teams that are sort of floating around that will be fringe top 25 teams. I think West Virginia can have that with their incoming transfer guard. And then the 2 guys they return, including Sherman, and then Oklahoma State with the Cisse transfer and bringing back Avery Anderson. And then I think Texas Tech, just from a coach, I'm a big believer in Mark Adams. I think he's a really good coach. And they got some transfers that I like as well. So
they added O'Banner, who
O'Banner,
huge name for himself at Oral Roberts for the tournament. Mm-hmm. So I agree. Tech, Oklahoma State was the other team I forgot. Yeah. The thing that stands out to me about Mike Boynton, players from other schools go and talk to him. There's a tremendous amount of respect that the rest of the league and players have for him. Shows you how good of a recruiter he is.
Yeah.
He's a special kind of dude.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's all I need from you. I really appreciate you talking to me, man. It's really, really interesting stuff. And, Big 12 Media Day is a big deal. I mean, basketball is right around the corner. I think it's a really good time to get excited for the season.
Totally. Can't wait. And then, of course, next year with the new stadium opening up, it's going to get wild.
Yeah, man. It's about to take off on a rocket ship.
No kidding. All right, Keenan, be well,
All right,
brother.
brother.